So Chris Colbert just got his first win in 2.5 years at Madison Square Garden in the Danny Garcia undercard. This fight was an 8-rounder. And Chris Colbert in this performance, again, it was more of the same largely for Chris Colbert. In fact, he looks worse than what he did before. When he was start of his career at 130 particularly, this guy was super fast. An explosive puncher, but not a powerful puncher. Explosive in the way where he'd be able to sort of enter distance really quickly and exit and become a really hard target to hit. But we've seen he's not even reached world level, and he's really struggled. Because the guys who he's lost to, they're not world level. These guys aren't world champions that Chris Colbert's losing to. That being said, this fight, it was an 8-rounder, bit shorter than, the 10 and 12 rounders that he's been used to. And he manages to get the win at Madison Square Garden. Now, a lot of people are saying this fight was whack. This was a boring fight. Now, I've not been able to actually watch the fight because there's not much footage from this event other than the Danny Garcia knockout in the main event. But I'm recording this the day after the event. So as videos will drop, maybe I'll make a new video about Chris Colbert too. But looking at the performance, from what I saw, this guy struggled in the same way. Chris Colbert struggled in the same way he typically does struggle in fights when he's fighting not even a world-class level fighter, but these journeyman/prospect level fighters that are Latino typically, that are willing to bite down on the gum shield, chin down, hands up, and throw 3, 4, 5 punch combos and apply pressure to Chris Colbert. The older he's got in his career, clearly, he's slowed down a bit. And we saw that in this fight. From even the highlights that I saw, Chris Colbert has markedly slowed down. Significantly slowed down from where he was at the start of his career, where he was a lightning bolt. He's not like that anymore. He's less slick, he's slower, he's a lot more so hit there for their taking. He's a lot more there to be hit. And, early on in his career, and even now in some ways, I do compare him to like a Tevin Farmer level of fighter, where he's probably a bit worse than he thinks he is. He probably thinks he's a world level fighter that's been unlucky sometimes. Maybe that's what Chris Colbert feels. Maybe he feels he's a world level fighter who's been a bit unlucky, but there's big holes in his game. Not even holes necessarily, but there's things in his game that he needs to address that he hasn't addressed. And as long as he doesn't address those, he's going to be a this level type fighter. And at this point in his career, he's 18-3. It does get to a point where this is just the way you box. And if he continues to box it this way, he will never become a world champion. And now that sounds harsh, but I'm a guy who's actually a Chris Colbert fan. And I really actually think he's capable of making those changes. Because I do think he's a really slick boxer. I think he's got an underrated power. He's not got a ton of knockouts on his resume. But we saw even in this fight, he dropped the guy with a body shot in the 5th round. Drops him with a body shot in the 5th round. And that was a sneaky body shot. And it was one of those shots that you don't really see. It was from the camera angle that I watched it on, that highlight, it was a sneaky sort of cross or uppercut, just snuck into the solar plexus and dropped him. So you can't sleep on Chris Colbert's power. And he's a switch hitter. He's capable of fighting southpaw and orthodox. He needs to use that more. Use that more to your advantage. Just throw these punches from awkward angles that's hard to deal with. But if he can make those changes, then I'm confident that maybe if he can't win a world championship, but he can be in some of those conversations, particularly at 130. I think 130 is up for the taking. There's big names at 126, big names at 135, but 130, you can get some motion at 130. You know what I mean? Get some motion at 130 and a few wins under his belt. He's got one here. If he can get another, maybe 2 wins, you put yourself in a really good position. So let me know what you think of Chris Colbert. What do you think of this fight? And what do you think's next for him? Who should he fight next? Should it be at 130? Should it be at 135 or beyond even? I don't know. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest in the bag, and I'm out. Peace.